So today's Hunger, Hope, and Healing class was a two-part class. The first part was on Ujjayi breathing. You can see that video here if you click on it. Now, the second part of the class is the one you're about to dive into. And this one I'm using developmental patterns in the yoga class. It's a very simple practice, but the reason we're using developmental patterns in a yoga class, which actually they're part of yoga class anyway, so we're not putting something in that doesn't actually belong in yoga, but I want to make it explicit that when we're using developmental patterns, it's to repair the circuitry, the neural circuitry in us that has been potentially chronically and consistently dysregulated from a very early age. Our developmental years are from birth up through 2, 3, 4 years old. We have other developmental patterns that begin between the ages of 4 and 7 and so on, but there are these kind of rapid developmental cycles that we move through in our earliest years. If that early environment was stressful in a particular way and your body internalized that, the rhythm you had to create inside is a rhythm that you might still be living with today. And it may seem really hard to overcome that rhythm. It could be the rhythm of anxiety or self-doubt or depression or apathy, the rhythm of orienting to everyone else and not to yourself, the rhythm that feels like doesn't really matter if you participate in life, any numbers of ways that can show up. So when we use developmental patterns in yoga practice and we give attention to the process, we're healing that developmental imprint. We're getting a chance to recreate that. You'll have a new foundation for the rhythm that you want to live your life from. So as you step into the class, of course, it's always helpful if you subscribe to the channel. If you hit the like button for a video that works for you, that's how I'll know that it's effective. You can also leave comments and questions below the videos. And without further ado, let's get into the practice. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to practice some things now on the floor here in a quadruped position. One reason that quadruped yoga practices are really helpful is that it has to do with our developmental movement patterns. And if our developmental movement patterns were created at a time in our lives when there was a lot of environmental, in the household, family stress, tension, chaos, neglect, uncertainty, apprehension, all the things, like a field where there may have been some trauma, coming back to developmental movement patterns now as an adult and using it in yoga practice can help to kind of go back to the earliest parts of ourselves with an attitude of nurturance, care, consistency, assurance, creating a new rhythm inside where we aren't subject just to the throes of all of this apprehension, uncertainty, or fear or worry. Okay, so a quadruped position means on your hands and knees. So let's take a blanket for the knees for anybody who needs that. And I'm going to recommend that blanket, particularly if you have sensitive knees, such a way as your shins are on the blanket, but your kneecaps are over the front edge of the blanket, so that when you come into a kneeling position here, your kneecaps will not actually be touching the blanket. They'll be just off the front edge, which makes it a little less pressure for the knees themselves. I'm also going to suggest that you have a couple of yoga blocks at the ready. So I put mine at the front of my mat there. And then please come to your hands and knees in table pose. And let's come into the Ujjayi breath here. So that is a practice that we learn in some other videos. I break it down for you. So here, we'll use the Ujjayi inhale to come into cat pose. And the Ujjayi exhale is for cow pose. Okay, Ujjayi inhale, cat pose. Press firmly down through both arms, round the entire spine. Exhale, Ujjayi exhale into cow pose. Now the Ujjayi breath is nourishing your vagal tone. The undulation of the spine also supports the vagus nerve and the gut-brain axis. And a smooth rhythm on your part is nourishing the overall rhythm of your body and your brain. Your brain learned about a certain rhythm in life from its earliest moments. And you're giving a rhythm to your brain and body right now from the place in you that deeply cares about your health and well-being, mental and physical. Let's do one more time. Inhale to cat pose. Now exhale, reach back towards child's pose. And then inhale, pull forward to cow pose. And exhale, undulate back into child's pose. So the cat pose becomes child's pose. Inhale, pull forward to cow pose. Remember how you had to pull yourself forward when you were a child? And then exhale. I'm sure you don't actually remember that because you were an infant and you don't have memory there, but you might see it on other infants. So inhale, pull yourself forward, gaze forward, open your throat. Exhale, round your spine and reach back towards your child's pose. And we'll do this one more time. We're going to inhale, pull forward to the cow pose. And exhale, round your spine and lower your hips back towards your heels in child's pose. Walk your hands back towards your knees. Rise up to kneeling. And notice what is happening with your mind. If you drop the breath so you're not having a specific practice, and you reflect like in the inner experience of your mind. Now we're going to add to that experience. So let's put the 2 blocks now for your hands. And I'm going to recommend that you place your hands so that your thumbs are on the insides of the blocks and your index fingers are pointing a little bit on that diagonal. And then the other 3 fingers are on the outside edge of the block there. Okay, so let's inhale into cat pose. Now your cat pose has longer arms, so you can sense a little bit more of your spine moving. Exhale to cow pose. Bring your chest and your heart forward. Open your throat. Inhale to cat pose. Exhale to cow pose. Slide your sitting bones back. Remind yourself that undulating the spine is really helpful for your vagal tone and for the gut-brain axis. We'll inhale to cat. Now this time as we exhale to cow pose, we're going to stay there. So complete your exhale, open your chest, your heart, and your throat. Inhale, raise your left arm. And then exhale, press into cat pose with both hands. Now inhale, come into cow pose. Exhale, drop back to child's pose. Inhale to cat. Exhale, cow pose. We're going to stay in the cow pose, stay for the exhale to complete. Then inhale, raise your right arm. Exhale, press into cat pose. Inhale to cow pose. And exhale back to child's pose. Okay, now we're going to make that a smoother action, a couple fewer movements. Some things are going to get combined. Okay, so inhale to cat pose. Exhale, cow pose. Inhale, raise your left arm. Exhale, cat pose on the way to child's pose. Inhale, cat. Exhale, cow pose. Inhale, raise your right arm. Exhale, cat pose on your way back to child's pose. Okay, now inhale, pull yourself forward to cow pose, raise your left arm. Exhale to cat pose, on your way back to child's pose. Inhale, pull forward, raise your right arm. Exhale, press into cat pose, on your way back to child's pose. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, pull forward, raise your left arm. Exhale to cat, on your way to child's pose. And last one, inhale, cow pose, raise your right arm. And exhale to cat pose, on your way to child's pose. Walk your hands back towards your knees, come up to kneeling. And let's pause right here. Remember, we're practicing developmental movement patterns, which have a healing effect retroactively, recreating an internal rhythm that you get to choose now versus having your environment choose that for you, which is what everyone is subject to in our earliest life. So now relax the practice, relax the breath, and see what's happening with your mind and your body. The next developmental movement pattern that we'll do, we're going to step one foot forward between the blocks. So let's go ahead and put the right foot forward. Bring your hands down to your blocks. This is a very common position in a yoga practice. It's like a low lunge. So you might feel your left hip flexor stretching. You might feel your psoas could be stretching. Okay, we're going to keep using cat and cow. So I'm going to have you put your fingertips on your block so that your arms are longer. Let's keep the pelvis where it is. So it's not that your hips are moving front to back, but on the inhale, press into your cat pose spine, broaden the back of your body. Exhale, lift your heart up into your cow pose spine, open. And then inhale, raise your left arm. And exhale, press into your cat pose spine. Let's combine those now. Inhale, raise your left arm. Lift your chest, your heart, open your throat. Using the Ujjayi breath, exhale into your cat pose spine. Inhale, keep the hips stable as you lift up. Exhale, return to your cat pose spine. And one more time, inhale to raise up. And exhale to cat pose. Let's go ahead and slide the hips backwards. Bring your right knee down or your right shin back to your blanket and notice. So if you pause to notice in between the activities, one of the benefits of that is that you're less likely to kind of wander away from yourself and you can stay more connected more often. But you can also think of it like in the developmental period of our lives, when we were doing something and then we looked back, for getting noticed, we wanted somebody to be there, right? Or when we did something and we looked up, we wanted someone to be there. So you're kind of being there for yourself in between the movements. Now let's bring the left foot forward and come down to your fingertips. So that's kind of a low lunge position. Your hips are going to stay in the low lunge position. And what we're moving is the spine and the breath. Okay, so let's start with an inhale to cat pose. And then exhale, move towards your cow pose spine. Get to know your right hip flexors, your right psoas, open your chest and your heart. And then inhale, raise your right arm. And exhale, cat pose spine. Inhale, raise up. In your cat pose spine, you are using the strength of your fingertips there. So as you exhale to come down to your cat pose spine, press into your fingertips and use the tone of the inner body. And inhale to raise up. Use the Ujjayi exhale as you come down to your cat pose spine. Ujjayi inhale as you raise up. And exhale. One more time. And exhale. And then glide your hips back a little bit, step your left shin back, and rest back to kneeling. So you're kind of, again, relaxing the practice and just coming back to yourself, getting noticed by yourself. Okay, now we're going to take this blanket and open it up so that you can lie on your stomach. So as you lie down, you probably, again, you don't remember this, but if you've had infants, you've seen them doing stomach lying. We don't remember ourselves as infants because we don't have the capacity for memory at that level. It's not yet turned on in our brains at that time. So come down onto your abdomen and onto your elbows, please. Point your toes behind you. Press the tops of the knees down. Root down through your tailbone. And as you press into your elbows, begin the Ujjayi breath. And with the inhale, raise your chest and heart forward. And exhale, tone the lower belly. So you might even sense like the inner abdomen lifts up away from the floor during the exhale. And then inhale, raise your heart, open your throat. On the exhale, keep the elbows pressing down. It supports you in toning the inner belly. And the inhale should feel like it's really opening your heart and then your throat, not like you're just sticking the chin forward. And exhale one more time, please. And then make a little pillow of your hands like this and rest your chin on the back of your hands. Now, when you come down, notice that the breath quite automatically is going to expand into the back of your ribs and the sides of your waist. Let's use that to our benefit for a deep inhale to the back hemisphere of the body. And exhale and deeply relax inside, knowing that you're creating a new rhythm for yourself, a new foundational rhythm. We're now going to place the hands underneath the shoulders and bring the forehead to the floor. Energize the tops of your feet, press your knees down, press your thighs down. Let's root the tailbone. And on the inhale, pull yourself forward and up, look forward. On the exhale, roll down one vertebrae at a time. Bow your forehead at the end of the exhale. With your inhale, pull yourself forward like the hands are isometrically pulling you back as the heart goes forward. And exhale, hands isometrically pull back even as you come down. Inhale, isometrically draw your hands back, glide your heart forward. And exhale, in the rhythm of your own breath, make it smooth for 4 more breath cycles. Remind yourself that as you pull your heart forward and lift your gaze, you're using a developmental pattern. the rhythm of which is to create a new rhythm, a new foundational rhythm that replaces the rhythm you had to inherit from your earliest years, particularly if those earliest years were unsettling for you or contributed to lifelong anxiety, for example. And we'll exhale and come down one more time. And as you come down, again, make a pillow of your hands. Rest your chin on the back of your hands. The elbows can be out to the side and maybe a little bit forward. And here you want to sense that the breath comes into the back hemisphere of your body. And notice that that breath actually could feel like very calming to your nervous system. Allow for the fullness of the inhale, the completion of the exhale. And then place your hands beneath your shoulders, please, and press up to quadruped and return again to kneeling so you have a chance to be with yourself. Take a moment to be with yourself. Again, like you've wandered into a little adventure as an early little being, and then you check back and you want to be connected to and noticed. Let yourself come into that connection now. Sometimes I say, you can notice yourself noticing yourself. Now, to give that a chance to be something that your body remembers as a new rhythm, we're going to use a Shavasana position that also, it kind of mimics some of the flexibility we had when we were infants, right? So I'd like you to take a blanket like this and fold it length to length, like so. Okay, once you've got that folded, place it down the length of your mat. You want these two blocks to be here with you. Sit in front of your blanket, not on it, but in front of it. Put the soles of the feet together. Take the knees out to the side. The blocks go under the knees. Now the blanket goes under your torso. It goes to the top of the sacrum, also called the bottom of the lumbar spine, and then down the length of your mat. And if you reach up and take just a teeny bit of blanket right under your neck, you can curl it to support your head right there. We want the soles of the feet together, the knees out to the side, because think about when you were in utero, actually, and when you were first born, your knees, you kind of kept them up. You didn't have the legs straight out all the time. That it took time for your psoas muscles to allow for that. And you had to learn to crawl before you could learn to walk. So you weren't immediately in like a straight leg position all the time. So this is a way of relaxing the pelvis and the inner belly, and also gives us like a surround experience of having done some developmental movement patterns this morning. Take your arms out to the side. You're welcome to close your eyes. And now we don't use the Ujjayi breath in Shavasana. We've done the Ujjayi, we made the investment. It's like we did the internal work, and now we're going to let that simmer. Like when you pour hot water over the tea, you allow it to steep. And deeply relax your eyes, your eyebrows, corners of your eyes. Consider softening the muscles of your cheeks. Allow the inner ear to be at rest, left side and right side. As you drop the lower jaw away from your upper jaw, allow your tongue to get really relaxed at the base of the mouth. And to the best of your ability, deeply relax your throat, the muscles of your neck. Allow the shoulders to get heavier as they relax back towards the floor. Let the arms also become more deeply relaxed, nothing to hold on to. Allow your heart to soften in the center of the chest. Imagine your ribs relaxing any unnecessary tension. And come down into the abdomen, and again, relax any unnecessary tension. Allow the inner body to be restful. And invite that relaxation to keep going down to the pelvis, the deep inner belly, and into both hip joints. Now, with this gift of relaxation that you've given to yourself, gently wiggle your fingers and then raise your hands to your torso. You might put one hand on the belly, maybe one hand on the heart. And let your deepest inner self know that you are on your own team, as it were, that you're here to help with the repair and to make a new inner rhythm for your life. And raise the knees up to center. And then roll down to your side. We'll go down to the right. And you can bring the knees in. And again, just sort of cradle yourself. But sometimes we call this fetus position. Right? You come down and just recognizing it's possible that you have need of like lifelong repair to that energy system, to your earliest experience of energy, the nervous system, everything like that. And then press yourself up to sitting. Up to your seat. As you rise up to your seat, make it a comfortable seat for yourself. I'll do the same for myself. And then you can rest your hands in your lap. You close your eyes. And observe whatever effects are there from having a developmental movement pattern for this practice, whatever beneficial effects are there. Does the mind feel a tiny bit quieter? Do you feel any bit more like connected to your center, to your plumb line, anything like that? Or maybe a little bit more grounded or a little bit more hopeful? Raise your hands to your heart. Thank you very much for sharing your practice and for trusting me to give you resources that you can use to recalibrate your life, not just to get ready for the day. Thank you for being here. Namaste. Thank you again. So before you go from the practice and get into your day, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and let me know if you have questions or comments down below the video.